I'm Sally Ogut. I'm a staff tutor in social work and I'm based in Wales. I was part of this scholarship project looking at using OpenStudio on a level 1 module in HWSC. As you can see, there were quite a number of colleagues working on the project and we came from a range of backgrounds. So we had social work, nursing, someone from the learning systems team and also people with research backgrounds. So for people who haven't perhaps come across OpenStudio, this is an illustration of what it looks like. It's a digital pinboard tool. It's been developed by the Open University to provide a collaborative online learning space. It was originally created as a design studio, so it was originally developed for photography modules in 2008, and it's got a similar kind of concept to platforms such as Pinterest. Since then, it's been used on different modules. So it's had modules in STEM, also a level 2 module in FAS. And for Wales, it's been piloted on K102, which is introducing health and social care. And it's aimed really at trying to improve retention and also promote peer learning. So the aims of the project, we wanted to look at an activity which helps students learn in a different way without having a heavy dependency on text. And that kind of links in a bit to what Claire was saying at the beginning about inclusivity and looking at different ways that people learn. And we also wanted to explore how effective OpenStudio is in encouraging more collaborative online learning and students working more together in their learning. So our methodology, our study, we used a mixed method approach. So we used both quantitative and qualitative data. We started off with a collection of the quantitative data to try and find out how much the students were actually engaging with OpenStudio. And we used the background analytics that are available to the module team to find out those kind of figures. We then sent a survey to a targeted sample of students. So we tried to get a cross-section in terms of gender, educational experience, socioeconomic groups, ethnicity. And our sample was drawn up by the Student Research Project Panel. We had 879 students that were contacted. 712 of those actually were K102 students. I think Lucy in her presentation talked about, and Linda, sorry, about the different students that we have on K102 in terms of having students on professional programming nursing and also students from widening participation backgrounds. So we managed to get students both from the programs and from K102. We sent out 879 to students and we managed, we got 144 participants, which we were really pleased with. Our survey included a lot of free text boxes so that people had a chance to talk about their individual experiences rather than just ticking boxes. Once we'd done the survey, we then invited 45 students to take part in one-to-one interviews. And we had 14 responses to that. And we also had a focus group made up of ALs that were teaching on the module and were also moderating OpenStudio activities. The main topics in the questions we centred around student engagement, students' ability to reflect and work collaboratively, and also to look at the challenges of using OpenStudio. I just want to go back to the slide showing OpenStudio. I think I probably didn't explain a bit more about the sort of connections to Pinterest. So this slide was actually the first activity in block 1. And we were asking students to post an image that illustrated for them what their understanding was of care. So you can see from those images that students had, quite a range of ideas about what they thought care demonstrated. And you might be able to see under each of the pictures, there's an opportunity there for other students to make comments about the work and also to sort of put a thumbs up and say which ones they particularly liked. So from the information we got back from our surveys, we looked at the benefits. What we found the benefits were, so the data analytics showed us that there was a high level of engagement with OpenStudio, and overall 88% of the students, so those who remain beyond the first sort of 25% fee liability, those engaged at some point during the module, which is, we're really pleased with that figure. We had an 82% engagement for block 1, so at the beginning students were really keen to get involved. This did go down to 51% in block 2, and then we also found that engagement did gradually reduce across the module, but that is really in line with other activities such as forums, because we know that students are really enthusiastic at the start, and with the forums they do kind of tail off as well. So that wasn't unexpected. We also found that engagement dropped around assignment deadlines. I think students taking more time to focus on getting their assignments in. 65% of students agreed or strongly agreed that they found completing the tasks rewarding. And a further 60% said that OpenStudio helped them to learn from other students. 68% also agreed that OpenStudio tasks helped them overall with their learning. They also said they felt more connected to each other, and that they found interacting with other people had helped them to be more reflective. And so what they've done is they revisited things that they'd learned on an individual basis and looked at other people's perspectives, and that had helped them to go back and look at their learning again. Many students made links between the skills that they developed on OpenStudio and their actual work placements. So they were able to make more links between their theory and their actual practice, and they also enjoy learning about other students' environments, because as I said previously, people are coming from nursing backgrounds, some in social care, some people come onto the module because they're carers themselves. So people come from a wide range of backgrounds, and they really found that they valued hearing from other people's experiences that they wouldn't necessarily know about otherwise. Students also talked about the soft skills that they developed, such as their self-confidence, their empathy, and their communication skills. They did report feeling more confident. 60% reported they felt more confident, and 62% said they felt the tool had helped develop their critical thinking skills. We also gathered some data on the tutorial attendance, because we wanted to increase participation. That was one of the objectives for actually introducing OpenStudio. And we found that overall attendance for K102 in 20J was 53%. And we compared that to K101 in 19J, which was only 18%. Obviously, we can't make a direct link. We don't know. There are other factors involved, including the pandemic. But we do feel that the increase is significant, and we hope that it's a positive indicator that the tool might be supporting greater peer learning. In terms of the challenges, some students reported barriers around the information technology, either not having a good understanding or a limited understanding of it, or being bombarded really with perhaps too many different types of applications in their studies. One of the main challenges was lack of time. So they're not having the time to devote to sort of becoming familiar with OpenStudio and how to get the best from it. And also having to weigh up their times if they got assignments to get in, or things that they felt more important, that they had to sort of make a decision on which activities they would engage with. Some students were anxious about sharing and receiving their feedback. We had one student who was concerned initially about posting things, thinking that people might laugh at their contribution. But that particular student said that once they started posting things, realised that wasn't going to happen, they got over their initial fears, and the anxiety did reduce. Our AL focus group did raise concern about student engagement. They were concerned about whether students would engage because there were no marks attached to their engagement. But as I've said, we do know that a high number of students did engage without having that incentive. As I said before, we did have a gradual drop-off in engagement across the module, but we did note that the nursing students demonstrated greater levels of engagement, and also the decline in their engagement was significantly more gradual compared to students who weren't actually on the nursing programme. So here are just a few comments that we received from the students. You'll see that they highlighted some issues around anxiety, but also talked about how they enjoyed the opportunities to share their work with other students and learn from other students' different experiences, different work settings. having the opportunity to be more interactive, not just sitting and working on their own and looking at a screen, but being able to be more creative and work with other students, and just generally making things more interesting. So at this point, I'm going to hand you over to Lucy, who is our project lead, and she's going to talk a bit more about what happens next as a result of our scholarship project. Thanks, Lucy.
Thanks, Sally. As Sally said, OpenStudio is a tool that's increasingly being used across the university. One of the things that was different with us was it hasn't been used extensively in Wales. It's generally used in relation to assessment, whereas we weren't using it in relation to assessment, and it hasn't been used as much at foundation level. So our focus really was on having a tool that help students who wanted a more visual form of learning and enjoyed the creative aspect of learning rather than being heavily text-based. And as Sally has said, we were also very keen to see if we could use this tool, which is familiar to people who use social media, to try and encourage students to get more involved in peer learning through the more formal peer learning opportunities of tutorials. And we certainly think that it's that the findings from this study have encouraged us to pursue that. So as one of the challenges from ALs was why wasn't this involved in assessment, we've actually decided to keep the position where we are, which is not to link it to assessment, because we feel it's meeting the two objectives of giving opportunities for creative visual learning and encouraging peer learning without needing to link it to assessment. And certainly on this module, there are quite enough challenges already in relation to getting students, developing the core skills of writing. So at the moment, we're not going to develop that. We did take very seriously the concerns from tutors about the manageability of moderating the activities. So in the first presentation, which was the one this study was based on, moderation was at the level of clusters, and that really was just far too many students. So we've changed that now, and we've worked with the online services team so that we have now got it moderated at a tutor level. So each tutor will moderate their own tutor group. One of the consequences we're hoping we'll get of that is that tutors will be able to encourage students to give feedback. We found that students put a huge amount of time, energy and heart really into producing their posts, and they really enjoyed doing that, and then they felt quite disappointed if they weren't getting any feedback, and a substantial number of students got no reactions and no comments on their posts. So we're hoping that by moderating it through the tutor group and tutors both giving feedback themselves but also encouraging other students to that they will start getting that feedback.
So those left, Lucy.
That's lovely, thanks. So those are the main things that we've changed. We're actually keeping the activities pretty much as they are. We're not making massive changes other than the changing of the moderation group and building guidance in to try and encourage students to give feedback to each other. And we are taking forward a publication opportunity and really focusing down on what the benefits of this tool might be for the nursing and social work students, because actually one unexpected outcome that students were telling us about was how useful this was for developing reflexivity and also getting a window into other students' practice environments and learning from other students' reflection, which we think is a really interesting use of the tool that we hadn't actually planned at the outset, but has certainly come through as a strong finding. So yeah, the other thing to say, just very quickly, is that Michelle Carrington from Online Services, who's responsible for OpenStudio, has continued. She was involved in the project, but she's also continuing to work with us, and we're developing a university-wide forum for people who are either using OpenStudio or interested in using it, so that we can make sure that there's a good feed through between how module teams want to use the tool and how online services can develop the functionality. So if anybody's interested in that, we can put you in touch with how that support and forum is going to be run. Thanks all.